There is no need to fear. You can't run very far. Curiosity's curse has brought you to our home of Bizarre. Consider us your friends, or simply your humble guides, as we unlock those doors in which they attempt to disguise. Welcome to a world of ghosts and grays and end of days. Welcome to a house of magic and fairies, all occurring suspiciously close to the fictitious town of Derry. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we survived Friday the 13th.
We did.
We survived your birthday.
Yes, we did. That one was fun.
We hopefully will survive the next time that kook is saying that the world's going to end.
Now, we don't call people kooks.
Did I say kook? I meant cook.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have misheard you.
I'm pretty sure he cooks his own meals.
Probably.
Yeah. For now. Until the end of the world.
In a few days.
It is a few days, right?
Yeah, I think so. The dates are so weird now.
I have to say, for having a weekly news broadcast
right
on the paranormal, this is the kind of guy that I love.
Right, because he's always newsworthy.
Yeah, because he's always changing his dates.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't get any better than that, right?
Well, this time I'm a little confused because, we had the date, September 23rd, and we were going to get, hit with this planet. And then, of course, that didn't happen. So then he came back and said that everybody just misunderstood his theory. Right. Which I don't see how you could misunderstand. Right. A planet's going to hit the Earth and destroy everything. That doesn't sound very hard to understand.
Right. Yeah, I mean, pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, so supposedly everybody misunderstood. And what he really meant was that the 7 years of the tribulation was going to start. And that was just the sign.
The trouble of tribulations.
Yeah. Like the eclipse, the eclipse back in August was like the spiritual sign. Right. And then the 7 years was supposed to start on October 15th. Remember, we had the October 15th date.
Yeah. Your birthday.
Yes, exactly. So that's come and gone. And supposedly this.
See, that one made complete sense to me by knowing you.
Right.
I figured something planetary was going to happen. No.
Well, supposedly the 7 years is just going to be full of things like terrible weather and nuclear war, possibly.
Come on, man. Listen, I am the first in line for the tinfoil hats. Okay.
Right.
So I've told everybody before on the show, I have seen enough crap in my life that if you say, hey, it's raining sheep outside, that I am going to believe you.
Right.
And then I will go look for myself and see. And if it's not raining sheep, then I'm not going to believe you anymore. But I kind of go with.
And you're going to call me a cook.
Yeah, I'm going to call you a cook. and I kind of go with, hey, I believe you. But this guy, I mean, who couldn't say that? Hey, you know what? Tomorrow, the news is going to lie to us.
Wow, that must be, that's amazing.
Yeah, I am going to call this out right now.
Right.
No matter what day you're listening to this.
Right.
Tomorrow, the news will lie to you.
It's like a blanket prediction.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, the really confusing part is there's also the date of October 21st.
Right.
Which he's also saying something's going to happen.
And that's what we're talking about.
Don't really know what. And see, that's coming up. It's not October 21st yet. So there's still a chance that the world's going to end.
Yeah.
So,
we should be so lucky, right? I'll tell you. Floating through the cosmos right now seems like a nice alternative to the day-to-day grind. If you let yourself be subjected to that kind of stuff,
right? Which
we choose not to.
Exactly.
We choose to live in a world full of not that crap.
Right.
And that's all you could put, that's the t-shirt.
Yes.
I live in a world full of not that crap. It's your birthday was fun. It was fun. One of the big reasons it was fun was I didn't have to work.
No, and that's always nice.
That is nice for me and probably for you.
Yes.
I hope. I do have proof that Stacy gets more beautiful every year.
No.
So it's sitting across from me right now. I know for a fact that this happens, and she looks damn good in a TARDIS dress.
That TARDIS dress is awesome. I love that thing.
I love it too, especially off. But it is fantastic, and you know, I'm just really glad to be with you.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you.
You do get funner and prettier inside and outside and everything as the years go. I only wish that I did the same, and I do not. I do not. I will soon be carrying a some kind of big bat or something under a bridge to stop passersby. But I look forward to that.
Okay.
I totally hope that I come back as a troll that guards a bridge. And speaking of bridges, we're looking continuously for things to do on our vlog.
Right.
So places to go and people to see, dead people to see. So we found this place. Now, this isn't going to be this week, so don't be looking forward to it this week.
Right.
I have to plan this one out.
Yeah.
But we found the 7 bridges of hell.
Yeah, or 7 gates of hell.
7 gates of hell.
Something like that.
It's in Illinois. Surprise. And it's, you know, probably somewhere in Chicago. We'll be dead before we get there. We'll be shot before we get there, and it won't make national news. But, you know, the 7 gates of hell. I mean, come on. That sounds pretty cool. We've been researching haunted roads, haunted bridges, and really just haunted legends because it's so much fun.
It is.
We still go to haunted houses and haunted buildings and all that good stuff. But that's like work. and going and finding these haunted legends, that's a kick.
Yes.
That's a kick.
Somehow we seem to get drawn to the bridges a lot.
I like the bridges.
I do too. Bridges are creepy.
That always happens to us. When we were investigating when we were investigating the first theater we did,
right,
years and years and years and years and years ago,
right,
it seemed like all we got was theaters.
Yeah, like we did a whole bunch of them in a row.
Every time the phone would ring, it'd be like, "Hey,
we have this theater.
We have this theater," and it's like, "Yeah, man, we're actually professionals at theater investigations." It's amazing the things you start to learn about theaters in general. And I'm not talking about movie theaters and theaters and old decrepit black mold theaters.
I think we even did the theater at a college.
Yeah,
like absolutely. That was down in a basement.
Yeah, so very cool stuff. And I did say movie. Let me throw something out about movies, by the way. I am sick of you critics. Okay, so if there's any critics, the movie critics that are listening to the show, and I'm not talking about you, Jim, or you, Susie. I'm talking about, because we're all critics of stuff. Yeah, and that's just what we do, right?
Right.
But I'm talking about professional critics that ruin it for everyone else when they get this ultra super screening of a movie, and they're like, "Oh, this movie's crap. This movie is terrible." And I'm not saying this movie is freaking, I don't know, Citizen Kane or, you know.
Right.
I'm not saying that it's perfect by any means, but it's a good start to something fun. And why can't we have fun? So what I'm talking about is we had put this off and put this off and put this off, but we watched The Mummy tonight.
Right.
With Tom Cruise. And I kept waiting for it to go bad. Like I kept waiting for it to have that Mel Brooks ending where there wasn't really an ending. Right. And don't get me wrong. Don't give me no Mel Brooks hate. We love Mel Brooks. We own all the special editions of all the movies, Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. And I mean, we love all these, right?
We quote them all the time.
Right. But they get real weak at the end.
Yeah.
Even Rocky Horror, which is not a Mel Brooks, but I'm just saying a movie that gets weak at the end. That I absolutely adore is, Rocky Horror. If I'm watching Rocky Horror, I know my turnoff spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies we watch like the first half. And then we're like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, we got our part in, right?
That's right.
The rest of it sucks. It's kind of like season 7 of Supernatural. You can go from season 6 to season 8 perfectly fine.
Yeah,
no
done.
Leviathan.
Exactly.
And-
Don't even lose hardly anything.
Yeah, you don't lose anything really. Maybe 3 episodes, but The Mummy was good. I mean, I thought so
I thought it was a good movie.
for the genre.
And for what they're trying to do with the Dark Universe.
Right.
I thought it was great.
And Universal Pictures, if you don't know, they're pretty much trying to resurrect again their original golden era of Universal monsters and tie them all together. And I won't spoil anything, but I believe the way they were trying to tie it together, it works for me. There were some Easter eggs in there.
There were.
And it's kind of fun, you know? I mean, at worst, you're going to waste 90 minutes of your life once a year to see a new monster movie. You know, I spend a lot more time than that watching really crappy indie movies that, you know, because we watch a lot of indie movies.
We do.
And, you know, but this was a good, for what it was, it's a big budget thrill ride.
Right. Yeah.
And-
I mean, we weren't looking for Shakespeare.
No, it's a shoot 'em up, and maybe they could have done a little less of that.
Right.
That would be my only criticism. Is it's kind of like Mission Impossible monster movie. You know,
Unfortunately, a lot of stuff Tom Cruise does now is very Mission Impossible.
right, and that part of it I could do without. But you know, I could take a whole lot more dialogue, I guess.
It's strange watching Tom Cruise in a movie now after watching him for so many years.
Right.
And you can just see the age coming on.
Yeah, but you don't
Like,
see the age like you should.
No, but he's getting to that point where he's going to have to step over into the older gentleman roles.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
He's going to have to start wearing a singlet instead of the biker shorts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not that he doesn't look good. He's still a good looking man. It's
Yeah,
just that
with a crooked face.
You can tell. Don't even get me started with the teeth.
So-
it bothers me
So
to
for
no
years,
end.
guys, you got to find a picture to be able to see this correctly because they hide it pretty well in the movies. I think I pointed it out to you,
Oh, it's terrible.
and his teeth don't line up with his nose, and it really bothers Stacy. Stacy is the embodiment of Jerry Seinfeld. If you've ever watched Seinfeld, and Jerry would always find something wrong, I don't know how.
I don't do it on purpose.
I don't know how I still have her. Because she always finds like this one little, not in a mean way, like she's a whisperer. She's a whisperer to her significant other. Like she would never say anything mean, but she's kind of like, do you see that lady's nose? It's completely sideways, you know, and it's not in a bad way because she points out the same stuff about herself. She's just one of those people that thinks it's a symmetrical thing.
I guess.
It's
I
not
don't
really
know.
like if somebody's got like some kind of freaking elephant man disease, she's not going to point that out. She's not a mean person.
No.
I'm talking about like the house across the street from us. One of the windows doesn't line up. Now, this is something a normal person wouldn't notice. Okay. A normal person being me.
Right.
I go to work every day. I leave and I'll look at the houses as I go. I notice things. I'm kind of Sherlocky about stuff like that. So I notice things like the gardener and, you know, and this guy and what color van's in the driveway and all this. I don't notice if a window is offset.
It's so obvious. It's not that it's like there's 3 windows that are exactly the same, and the 4th one could just go right there in that little spot, and it would be all perfectly symmetrical. But no, it's turned on its side and it's over to the left a little bit.
I think it's great because it's the different in our minds. Like, you know, I'm very artistic and you're very artistic in a different way. But it's funny because we notice different things, you know, like I look at people's faces.
Right.
And I can really get a lot from someone's face or the make of their body. And
It's like if we went to some kind of touristy thing and we were going upstairs to the 2nd level.
Right.
You would notice all the people that were around us going up the stairs, and I could tell you how many stairs we went up.
right, exactly.
That's the difference.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's probably some kind of, you know,
It's a brain thing, I'm sure.
for both of us, you know.
Guess so.
But one of those places you could find that is paranormalsideshow.com. That's your address to go find out everything crazy. Facebook.com/paranormalsideshow. There's a little bit of Tom Cruise there. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. Not as much Tom Cruise. On Instagram, Hot Tom Cruise. Damn, it's John and Stacey Edwards. On YouTube.com/paranormalsideshow. Kids, that is where you can see the single greatest moving picture on the internet that will not require you to clear your search history unless you are using the communal laptop at a convent. And if that's the case, I love you. It's the Till Death vlog, and that's our vlog because we're together till death. So you get it? You get it? Cool. We have a lot of fun making it. We've always said if we had a camera going, it would be the same thing that you get on the podcast. And unfortunately, it's a little goofier.
It is.
So we went into this like, hey, let's be serious about this. Let's just show our life. But our life is goofy like that. So we have a lot of fun with it.
We can act like we're serious people, but we're really not.
We're really not.
No.
We have our serious moments. And
we can adult when we need to.
yeah,
but
yeah, that's not very
we
often.
don't.
I have to adult at work continuously, so I don't adult when I don't have to. But, we do take our cases very serious and we find out everything we can and we like to go adventuring and bring you along with us, no matter what that adventure may be. So it's a lot of fun for us. We've talked about it quite a bit, but also hit that subscribe button. If you do go there, or if you're listening to us on YouTube, which you can do as well, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, and same thing on the podcast. However you listen, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, however you listen, that's where we stay. So we'll be there again for you whenever you need us. And hopefully we'll have some new content. Sometimes you can't wake us up when you push play. So you'll have to listen to an old episode, but we live inside your phone and we enjoy it here. We absolutely enjoy it here. But, we don't quite enjoy what you look at when you're in the bathroom, but that's okay. We can turn our heads. And speaking of turning my head, I turn my head quite a bit when I look at news. Okay. Because I like to watch a little bit of both sides of arguments. So I don't just go into the one and let that be my deciding factor, right?
Right. You get a well-rounded picture.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I believe that is very healthy and very important. The reason I say this is I am afraid that Snopes is going to disprove my existence.
You are a hoax.
I am a hoax. So we look at a lot of articles and we go through a lot of research. When we go through the research, we try to always go to the core article. Right. And Stacey is a pro at this, and we've done this show for 7 years. During that 7 years, we have always tried to go as far back as we can and find original sources. When we do this, sometimes I like to cheat, and because I'm not Stacey, and I'll go like the Snopes. And I was thinking earlier, everything I go to Snopes on seems to be disproved.
Right.
And a lot of times I'm a bit suspicious about it.
Well, you should be a bit suspicious.
So I started thinking, which is dangerous, but I did it anyway.
Okay. I thought I smelled something burning.
Yeah. The doctors warned us against it, but I decided to do it anyway. And no, I have a lot of theories. And one of my new ones is the fact that I don't think it's healthy for us all to look at one place to say yes or no on something. Right. I believe that's what we try to fight against.
It is.
And, so a lot of people trust one source to say, hey, this is real or this isn't. Right. I'm not so sure that's good because I think it leaves it open for some fallible type events
that could be exploited.
Right.
I mean, I agree with you. It is a little strange that people will use an online site to tell them whether other online sites that they're looking at are real or not. Right. I mean, that just seems like not good logic.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you something funny. Speaking of a story, this is kind of funny. Tony Berkshire, I'm talking to you directly. Avid listener of the show and has become an online friend over the years from listening to the show. he commented, sent me a video of a cool story and asked me, what I thought of it. And I said, well, if you listened to our last episode of our podcast, you would know what I thought of it. It just happened to be the Irish school.
Oh, yeah.
The cool,
we did talk about that.
Yeah, the cool ghost video from the school. And, that is one that, man, I tell you, I really have a problem with whether or not that's legit or not.
I mean, I don't know. That's why I think we even said last week, yes, those things could have been faked. And I even thought a couple of the first things were definitely just not real.
Because they look fake.
Because they looked fake. But, that who's to say that it's not? Here's
my problem with it still.
Okay.
It's on a school security camera.
Right.
That still bothers me because I started thinking, why would a school allow students to be scared possibly?
Right. Well, that was my point too. Even if it was a Halloween prank or something, you wouldn't think that they would promote that.
I don't know. If we have any more information on that, I know we don't right now.
Right.
I looked earlier, but I really do want more information on that. So if anybody...
Did you look at it on Snopes?
No, I couldn't find it there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So maybe a good thing.
Maybe. Well, speaking of last week's show, I'd just like to point this out. When I was editing it during the interview part, when we were talking to Alan, there's actually a pretty clear EVP in there.
Yeah.
And I could hear it. I just kind of left it in because I thought it would be kind of cool if people were listening. They'd be like, hey, what was that?
Yeah. We leave those things in on purpose and rarely do we tell. But this one is pretty noticeable.
Yes. Well, I brought it up because we have been having some crazy activity.
We have.
In the house.
Our house is 150 years old. And it's in a very, northeastern haunted looking street, haunted looking house. That's why we got it.
Right.
And, not a whole lot of bad activity happens. I know during the show we've had lights go in and out and no real reason for it with new wiring. We've had several things happen, actually. I mean, it's just normal to us.
Right.
But earlier tonight, we're recording this in the witching hour.
Yes.
And it's 3 a.m.
It is.
So we like to record when we can. At 3 a.m.
Which is normally in the middle of the night.
Yeah, just to get that ambiance, right? But earlier tonight at 10 p.m., around 10 p.m.,
right,
we were about ready to watch a good movie.
Yes.
Called The Mummy.
It was good.
It was good. But we were getting ready to watch a movie, and we were all upstairs, and we were watching it in our bedroom. I heard something downstairs, and Ariana heard it with me because she's always, it was cute. She told me earlier. She's like, I am always eyes open, and I'm always got my ears open. And
she does,
and she does. She's just like her daddy, but because we don't even have to communicate anymore. She just looks at me and goes, "I heard it too." So I was standing at the door. I was getting ready to go to the bathroom. And when I was getting ready to go to the bathroom upstairs, we had the door open, and I heard a bang or a knock downstairs. And Ari looks at me, she goes, I heard it too. And there was another bang or knock. And then it just continued to happen.
Right.
And it was kind of like everybody, deer in the middle, because that's just how you are. You know how it is. You hear something, you're just kind of like, looking at a car. And then we heard a door closed.
Yeah.
And, there was no explanation for that whatsoever. There's no drafts or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So it was very strange. We came downstairs. We always, I come downstairs to beat somebody up, and but we also come downstairs to investigate because we know it's not somebody trying to break in.
Right.
But it was just very, very heavy. I mean, not in a bad, scary way.
Right.
But just in a, hey, I'm screwing with you way. And the door closed was
it was weird because you could hear it. You could hear the doorknob latch thing, and it did it a couple of times.
Yeah.
So it was very strange.
Yeah. So the activity is definitely there. I would like to think that it has something to do with being your birthday week.
Maybe.
Because we've had a lot of activity since your birthday.
That's true.
And I would like to think that it's just some kind of,
just like family.
It's just family hanging
coming
out.
By.
I don't feel anything menacing or evil or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And even we spent 20 minutes trying to find a real solution. You know, like another reason.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
it
Like
to
we checked all
happen.
the windows and we, stomped around the floor to make sure we weren't doing it.
Yeah,
All that stuff.
absolutely. But I want to talk about something funny,
Okay.
and it has nothing to do. Well, it does have something to do with the paranormal, actually.
Okay.
I want to talk about. I was thinking about being sick when I was a kid, and we talked about it a few episodes ago.
Right.
And they used to give me something when I was really sick called groundhog grease. Mm-hmm. And when you got groundhog grease, you did not ever want to be sick again. So you would just hide it and pretend you're no, I'm okay.
I swear I'm better.
And it's kind of like it's kind of the same thing as gargling with the hot salt water and that fun stuff. But I'll tell you, I come from a mountain family.
Yes.
And an Appalachian magic mountain family. Mm-hmm. I am very homesick right now, this week. Mm-hmm. And because I'm off and I feel like I should be with them.
Right.
And I feel like I should be down there visiting, but I also needed a break.
Yes. You needed some rest.
Yeah. The real world has been very hard, recently in the work world. I have a lot of responsibility. And, that when I do this stuff for the show, when we go out and we spend, 20 hours recording the vlog, that is not work. That is fun.
Yeah.
When I do this show, it's fun. Mm-hmm. It is completely stress free. I could investigate probably every night of the week and not feel a bit of stress.
That's true.
That to me is what
we feel other things. But not stress.
Exactly. But that to me is fun. So I made the decision not to go down to Virginia, and I really wanted to, but it got me homesick and it got me thinking about things about how much I appreciate what I came from.
Right.
And, as dumb as they all are. And I'm not talking about my parents. My parents are listening to the show. But I'm talking about their parents and
just about the area in general.
The area in general. No, you would have to know. My father would be laughing right now because there's just a lot of mountain mysticism.
Yeah, well, you were talking about that stuff that they made you take when you were sick, the groundhog grease, and so we've been trying to figure out what that was.
Yeah, we've been trying to figure out what it was. But let me say before we get into something really fun, I appreciate what I came from because all the folklore and all the ghost stories and all that, the fear of the unknown, the uncle bringing in the priest to bless the house.
Right.
Stories of ghosts from the time I was just a little itty bitty kid. That was just real, man. They were just like, oh yeah, they all see the lady. She burned up in the house or caught fire on the stove on the house and she burned up in the front yard.
Right.
All that was real. And yeah, it was scary, but it also got my hunger for everything that came after.
Right.
So I really appreciate where I came from. But there was one story, and the groundhog grease is what got Stacy and I into this, was trying to figure out what the hell they actually gave me.
Right.
But one of the stories that my dad has, we've shared on the show before, but I believe we shared it on one of the older incarnations of the show. I believe it was probably Third Side or
probably I actually don't remember,
or Haunted South. But my dad, when he was a kid, he was afflicted, I guess you could say, with warts.
Right.
And he had warts up and down both arms. And I think it was a pretty severe case from what I remember him telling me about it. And he had there was a lady there that they knew, and they lived in a farmhouse on a little farm. And, had a lot of brothers and sisters, and they were all horrible people. But I'm really glad that Dad survived childhood.
Right.
That's how bad he had it.
Right.
And he won't ever say that, but it's just the truth.
Right.
Okay. And now all the crazy people I'm talking about, that's who I'm talking about. Absolutely. And if they're listening, you're crazy, just shut up. So anyway, they had somebody come to the house, this lady, and she paid him a wheat penny for each one of the warts that were on his arms.
Right.
Okay. And she told him that he could never spend them or they would come back threefold. If I remember the story correctly.
Right.
So he took those wheat pennies and he stuck them down one of those old razor slots in that house. Okay.
Well, the one that goes into the wall.
Yeah. You know, in a bathroom, in the old school bathrooms, you could open up the medicine cabinet.
Right.
And there would be a slot to throw your old razors.
Right.
And so they go, it just falls down into the abyss of the in between the walls.
Right.
The in between. So he put all those wheat pennies in the in between. And the next day, all the warts were gone. Okay. All the warts were gone. Now, I heard this story when I was a kid, right? When I was a small kid. And my dad is very straightforward on stuff. He does believe the paranormal. He believes in the paranormal with a very guarded sense of his Christianity. You know, he won't let that step on either way. And I respect him for that, because he does believe that there's something crazy happening, because it happens to him all the time.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of hard to ignore it, because my parents' house is haunted as well. Very haunted. And anyway, I always thought that was an amazing story. We wanted to find out about groundhog grease. Okay. And if anybody knows about groundhog grease, maybe there's different kinds of groundhog grease, but the kind that we found, I'm surprised I'm alive at all. So we found these mountain remedies.
Yeah, we found like this whole list of just different mountain remedies. And some of these we've actually heard of.
And the wart thing is even on there.
Yeah. If you look under warts, it says that you sell your warts, quote unquote, sell your warts for a penny.
Right.
Which is what your dad did. And then you get rid of the pennies and, you know, you don't spend them. Nobody can use them or anything. So it's just like a little magic kind of thing.
Right. Absolutely. It's magic.
Yes. But this list also had a listing for groundhog grease. And according to this list, groundhog grease was supposed to be used for croup, which is like the coughing kind of thing.
Right.
And it's made from turpentine and a little bit of lamp oil.
There you go, people. So if you ever wondered why I've been bald for 15 years and in poor health, it's probably from drinking turpentine.
Well, it's funny because all of the ways you use this groundhog grease, none of them say to take it. It's all like soak a rag in it and lay it on your chest or, you know, pour it in your ear. You know, it's not ingest the turpentine. So
times have changed.
It has. It really has. But
it's like riding in the middle of your parents without a seatbelt. You know, it's the stuff that they told me about 2 years ago. They're like, oh, little John went to sleep really good once we gave him this. I forget what it was.
I don't remember. Some kind of sleeping agent or something.
But it's like, yeah, he slept for hours.
One of the ones on here that I thought was really funny was for teething babies.
Yes.
And I was really interested in that because, you know, of the baby that lives in the house. And he's going to be teething soon.
Right.
But apparently you have to take a mole's foot, the left front paw.
You're kidding
Left
me.
front, yeah. And you tie it around the baby's neck, and that keeps
the
baby
baby's
from
terrified?
crying. It keeps the baby from crying, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know how you keep him from chewing on it.
I will let them watch you cut it off the mole.
Something. I don't know.
I mean, how easy is it to get a mole in the first place?
There's a remedy on here for in order to stop some bleeding, to take some soot from the back of the fireplace in an old chimney and put it on the cut until it stops. And then
until you die from infection.
But then you have to wash it out or to leave a scar. Yeah. So it does say at the top of this list to please not try any of these remedies, that some of them may not be good for you.
Yeah, but there's some dandies on here.
Oh, yeah. Blood tonic. I don't know what blood tonic is for.
Right.
But apparently you can make blood tonic by soaking rusty nails in water and drinking the water. I'm pretty sure it's not good for you.
It doesn't tell you what that's supposed to...
It's just called blood tonic.
Is that how to make an uncle leave the house?
Maybe.
Do you have a troublesome uncle that's been around for too long?
Well, there is one on here that I thought was really interesting, and it's for corns. And it's kind of like the warts thing.
Right.
Apparently you take 5 little flintstones, and flint rocks, and you tie them up in a rag, and then you throw them away at the fork of a road. Mm-hmm. And then when someone picks it up to see what's in it, your corns go away and they get the corns.
Oh.
Not sure that's a good idea either. Right. Seems a little harmful.
It does seem a bit harmful. It's a harmful rib. Yes.
So, but supposedly that will get rid of your corns.
Absolutely.
But give them to somebody else. So I don't know. A lot of weird stuff on this list. I might actually link to this so people can look at it because it's actually pretty crazy. So apparently if you have the hiccups, you can hold your breath and think of 7 bald-headed men to get rid of your hiccups.
Please do this. If you get the hiccups, just think of me 7 times.
I wonder if it has to be 7 different bald-headed men.
No, it can all be me.
Because I don't know if I know 7 bald-headed men.
We all look the same.
This is true.
I mean, seriously.
This is true.
How many bald-headed men my
I'll just
age?
picture you in different outfits.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the bald-headed man with the goatee.
Right.
We totally all look the same.
You kind of do.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll actually link to this list. So in case you need an old home folk remedy.
Yeah, and some people might say, well, these were psychosomatic. They thought they were going to work, but I don't believe in psychosomatic. I just don't. I believe it's all magic. I believe it's the same,
Well, isn't that how curses work too?
It's how curses work.
Supposedly.
It's how prayer works. I would love for all of this just to be, oh, hey, by the way, it's God. There's no magic or, anything like that.
Right.
But I'm just saying that it's kind of funny to me. Okay. So either it's psychosomatic and we have this magical mind that can make warts go away, or we live in a matrix. I mean,
right.
And it's just, I don't know this. I don't know if this is more argument for there being a matrix or not. It's crazy, but yeah, it's very cool that some of these, I mean, obviously they worked. I mean, the life expectancy back then was very long, right? I mean, they lived to like 30. They got married at 14.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you need?
Drank rusty nails. I mean,
rusty nail water.
I am glad that I'm at this Gen X. I'm Generation X. So somehow we came at the tail end, and it was probably already cured in most other parts of the country, but being in the Appalachian Mountains,
right,
in Southwest Virginia, which is not really Virginia. Like the rest of Virginia kind of don't claim Southwest Virginia.
No, it's more of a West Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Or East Tennessee, Western Kentucky.
There you go.
It's all the same people.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky,
it's all the same area.
Southwest Virginia, Northeast Tennessee. It's all the same people. And I think that
they're all related. It's fine.
I think that all the states involved would like to not claim all those people, but no one wants to go tell them. And right. I can say this lovingly because I'm from there.
Yes.
I was born in Bristol, Tennessee.
Yeah. See, I grew up there, but I wasn't born there. So I don't have the same ties to that.
Buddy, let me tell you, it's different. when you've lived up here for a while and you go back,
yes,
it's different.
It is.
It is totally different. There's a lot of different type things that happen there in their mountains that just don't happen in other places. So
this is true.
But I do love it, and it does make for some dandy cures. So, very much enjoyed that. And you know what? Maybe psychosomatic stuff. Maybe that is real. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe the mind is so powerful that
I believe that it is. I mean, that's the whole premise to, making your life better by positivity.
Right.
And, all those people that are like, you can change your direction. You can think your way into better situations.
Like when people lose an arm, they still feel their fingers.
Yeah, there's a name for that.
Yeah. I think stuff like that is
it's like phantom limb or
it's
something.
Very
like
intriguing to me.
Well, the mind's crazy. The mind, supposedly it can make you sick. It can make you better. It can do all kinds of it. It can trick you into tons of stuff.
I'm one of those people that don't want to know if I have a terminal disease. Right. I am, because I'm a very positive person, and we are a positive family. So we try to make the most out of a bad situation. If there's something negative that happens, even a car wreck, we had a car wreck and we tried to make it very positive. We didn't have any kind of down day. It didn't ruin our day. It didn't change anything.
Right.
We tried to make everything very positive. It took many years to get to that level. And, by no means, especially me, I'm mood swing Mary, and, but I'm so much better than I used to be, just because I always try to think, it can be worse.
It could be.
And we can be a lot better, people. And for some reason, when you go into it with this positivity, your days are much better.
I agree.
They just really are. And speaking of much better, I think it's time for some paranormal news.
All right, so let's get to the news.
Let's.
All right, so I'm going to start with this story. It wasn't the one I was going to start with, but since we talked about David Meade already, I wanted to throw this one up in the front.
Oh, great.
And this is the story about how NASA has admitted that there possibly could be a Planet Nine. So, David Meade's all about Nibiru and it's going to show up. And, and so some people are taking this to think that NASA has confirmed that there really is this planet.
Right.
But that's not what they're saying.
That's not what they're saying.
They actually have not found this planet.
Right. They suspect that it's there.
Right. They are just saying that they have determined that there is enough evidence to prove that there is a planet past Neptune, a Planet 9 or a Planet X or whatever you want to call it. So I want to go ahead and point it out because, a lot of people try and link those things together and they don't really understand what is being said. So basically there are different, there's different anomalies out in space. Planets act weird. There's things in the Kuiper Belt that orbit the wrong direction. Right. Things like that. And so
everything past the Kuiper Belt is kind of odd.
It is. So what they're saying is that the existence of a ninth planet makes more sense and answers more questions than if you try to explain all of these things individually.
Right.
But just to be clear, they have not actually found this planet. They have not seen it. They have just have this theory that it's there.
And even if there is a ninth planet, it's more than likely what they're talking about is it big?
They're calling it a super Earth.
Okay.
So yes, it would be
gaseous giant or a big ice giant or what is it solid or
it's supposedly it would be larger than Earth, but it would be smaller than Neptune, a rocky world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's really, really far out there and it's not yet been discovered, but
that's still exciting.
It is exciting, especially if they eventually actually see it.
I mean, as you eloquently pointed out to me a few days ago, you were like, we're always looking for life on these Goldilocks zone planets. But what if, we don't know exactly, what kind of life could be, even on a planet that we wouldn't think would support life.
Right. They're always looking for life like us, but maybe we should be looking for life that's not like us.
Right.
So I don't know, but I wanted to just go ahead and point that out because I think this is the first time NASA's actually said, yes, there probably is something
still
there.
Exciting. If it's a rocky world, I'm not a big fan of the gas worlds.
Because you can't stand on them.
Yeah, this bothers me. It really does. I don't think this should... for me, a planet should signify that you could go land there.
Right. There should be certain rules, right?
There should be.
All right. Well, anyway, so let's talk about this huge announcement that was just made on Monday.
It's a big deal.
On the 16th, and everybody was talking about it. It was like this big announcement that they planned. They did all of these news conferences around the globe at the same time.
Right.
On Monday. And it was this announcement about the gravitational waves. It's the first time that they have detected these gravitational waves from a neutron star crash.
Right.
So it's really exciting. I was really hoping it was different and kind of announcement. Yeah. But we're always hoping for that.
Yes.
But we did kind of know what this was going to be before it came out. But it's still exciting because it's not very often that you actually get to experience the first time they've discovered something.
Right.
I mean, especially in space where they look all the time. But supposedly this one...
Now, this has been theory for...
Yeah, well,
ever.
I mean, they've detected gravitational waves before, but every time it was two black holes.
Right.
So this time it's the first time it's two neutron stars. So there was actually light and gravitational waves, and they were able to really study it and get some good information from it.
I just fell asleep. So tell us, for the Johns out there, tell us what this means.
Okay. The European Southern Observatory, the ESO, is the one that did the announcement. They teamed with LIGO, which is the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory.
Of course.
Yes, there's all these big places. And they made this announcement, And basically, they saw this collision, two neutron stars. There's a great infographic. I'll link to it. And what it produced was a ton of like gold, silver, all this uranium, all these amazing precious metals that they didn't really know how they were formed before.
Right.
So it answered a lot of questions for them. I believe this one particular explosion, they said likely produced about 10 Earth masses worth of gold and uranium. And that stuff just gets shot out through the universe.
And does what?
It lands on other planets, I suppose.
Gotta suck to be close to that.
Sure. The only thing they weren't very clear about that I haven't really seen information on is what was left. Like what happened. Like I'm assuming it's just a black hole because neutron stars are very close to black holes.
Right.
But they weren't very aware of what.
I mean, even if the gold goes through an atmosphere, you would think that it would burn up.
I don't know. I don't know if it's the kind of thing where it just gets stuck when new planets form.
Right, yeah.
And just gets put in there. But they are all like super excited about this announcement. I mean,
obviously
everybody totally geeked out about it. And like I said, it wasn't the announcement I was hoping for, but it does start this new way that they can do astronomy now, new ways to measure things and new ways to, evaluate things.
Well, they said when they first came up with the gravitational waves that things were going to escalate quickly.
Well, one thing I think is really interesting about these gravitational waves is that they're actually a little ripple of space-time is what they are.
Right.
So if we're not very close to these things, so they don't really affect us. But if something like that happened, like right next to you, it would kill you. It would be crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's fascinating. I'm not nerdy into space like that, but I just think it's interesting.
Excuse you. Being into space does not constitute nerdy.
I didn't say it like that. I meant like with the whole gravitational wave, science-y, you can hardly understand what you're reading kind of thing.
I don't know. I think the best explanation in the world for all of the timey-wimey stuff is the antennas on a TV or the radio channel explanation, like the multiverse. Because I'm really believing in the multiverse more and more.
Right.
I'm believing in an infinite number of worlds.
Where parallel universes.
Where every decision has happened, or is concurring, or history is happening at the same time. That right now it's the medieval times. And I'm not saying that's everything and that's the reason for the paranormal, because that can't be, because if Aunt Kate dies, I can go get an EVP from Aunt Kate. Okay, so I'm just saying that it's the paranormal, right? It's just strange. And that's why we do it, is because it's so freaking weird. But my favorite way of explaining it, and my favorite thing I've ever heard is, imagine the fact if you have, and I'll use an old TV set. On that TV set, you've got it tuned in the old days with the antennas, folks. You've got it tuned to channel 5, right? And you're watching the baseball game on channel 5. But you could also choose to tune it to channel 11 and see the football game.
Right.
You could turn it to channel 19 and see the preacher. You could turn it to channel 39 and see your soap operas, right?
Right.
But they're all in the room with you. Okay? Those are all there, and your antenna just happens to be on channel 5.
Right.
But channel 11 is happening at the same time.
Exactly.
And you tune to that to be able to watch that, even though the signal is there. So if you just simplify it to that degree,
right,
about there being multiple realities, and we're tuned to one, even if you don't want to use it for the multiple realities, just for the paranormal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For, some people can hear spirits and some people can't. Some people just are tuned.
It's frequencies
to that.
It's all frequencies. Yeah. What's the frequency, Kenneth?
Yep.
Ask Dan Rather. Look that one up.
Yeah, that's definitely a whole rabbit hole, isn't it? Well, anyway, so big announcement, come and gone, and crazy.
Waiting for the next one.
Yes, so let's move on.
Disclosure.
And this is, if you didn't know what we were talking about. All right, so this is a story about
Jack and Diane, two American kids. Growing up in the heartland?
No, amazingly, it is not.
Okay.
This is about the upcoming release of all the JFK files that's coming out.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure they're all being released.
Well, actually, they there is a whole bunch of them that are going to be released. And what
With
it is
redactions and black tape and
probably. So supposedly it's time for them, like the time frame is up.
Right.
And unless President Trump says that he wants to delay it, then they're just going to be released. And the CIA or the archives that is actually releasing it has just decided to release it all at the same time instead of doing a slow release, some a little bit of time, some a little bit of time, like that. So when this happens, which the deadline is like October 26th, it's coming up.
Wow.
Experts are saying that it's going to cause pandemonium, that the servers are going to crash, that nobody's going to be able to see it anyway, because everybody's going to be trying to get that information all at the same time.
Dude, it's the conspiracy that got everybody into conspiracies.
Yeah. So the guy that wrote this article actually said that...
Is dead now.
No, he published a book back in 2013. And back then, they had released a few documents and he had tried. It was only like 400 and that's it. And it was so hard to get on to download that data because so many people tried to do it that it just crashed. So this is like so much more information than that.
You know they put it on the crappiest server they can.
Oh, I'm sure. Like those slowest and the worst.
Yes, sir. We'll give it to everybody right now. I don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith in the government in the first place.
Right.
But or in them telling us the truth. Mm-hmm. But it's just like the UFO files. My whole thing, it's kind of like pleading the fifth. Uh-huh. If you plead the fifth, are you not just saying you're guilty? I mean,
true.
When you put out files that say this person went to and it's blacked out and they seen and it's blacked out and then we got a blacked out. I couldn't believe that I saw the blacked out.
Yeah.
You know, it really isn't. Is it releasing information?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's just releasing a bunch of blacked out areas.
And they say that's because
between.
That's confidential forever or whatever. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I know the one in 2013, it's like you said, there was a lot of jargon and code names and blacked out redacted stuff. Right. And it was hard to make sense of any of it. But the CIA won't confirm or deny that it's actually asked Trump to delay the release. I don't think that that's really anything that's high on the president's to-do list right now.
That falls into my fifth. If you won't confirm or deny, you're confirming.
Yeah, pretty much. But it'll be interesting. I'm curious.
Honey, what's this lipstick on your collar? I shall not confirm nor deny that.
that I know what
that's
that
from
is.
my secretary. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, and I don't want to be pessimistic about this stuff,
right?
But it's overwhelming. With the JFK thing, what happened? Okay, it is. I don't think I have to say it. If you're into the JFK conspiracy, then you're going to know what I'm saying. If you're into any more recent conspiracy, you're going to understand what I'm saying as well. Sometimes the evidence is so freaking just there. It's so overwhelming that you just scream at the television set because you're just like, how are you not seeing this? I know you're seeing this. Why aren't you reporting this when we're seeing, especially in the age we're in now?
Oh, yeah.
When everybody has a cell phone and a camera.
And everybody can post anything online.
And you find out really quickly that there is, I mean, why wouldn't, this is the part that makes it conspiracy for me. If somebody was to say, I can guarantee you right now, if I shot you in the face, that they would take anything that they could hear from the neighbors, any points of view from anybody down the street, anybody that I worked with, anybody I've ever known, and they would want to, use all that and make all that very public.
Right.
And it's all part of this investigation. Please come to us with information because we want to know the truth about why or if he did it. Okay.
Right.
Because I'm a normal bloke. But yeah. Thank you. But when it's a conspiracy or when it's a possible government conspiracy or a government cover up, I should say, it seems like a lot of this good, credible information that comes in, they poo-poo it.
Right.
And they call it conspiracy theory and they call it conjecture. And they say, we don't want to talk about that. We're giving you all the information. But then 3 days later, all the information changes. And they're like, well, we expected it to change. And 10 days after that, once again, all of it changes, right? And then the stuff that you get told 2 weeks before on a conspiracy site is all of a sudden true.
Right. Is now what they're telling you.
Absolutely what they're telling you. And you know, if they don't want to be construed or seen in that light, then why the hell do they make themselves be seen in that light? The JFK conspiracy sparked an entire generation, and it's not even my generation, it's the generation before me, that it shocked them. It was a beloved president that, you know, when he was assassinated, now he was changing things. He was a rebel. He was doing things that people weren't doing.
Right.
And he was like on the forefront of that. Right. And he was really screwing with the system. He was really screwing with the system. And then this happened. And there was a lot of people that this left this impression on their mind. And I can go with this because, you know, I remember like when I was a little kid and the Challenger exploding, you know, little kids that aren't so little now, 9/11, you know, even for me, 9/11, you know, you'll always remember that. Right.
Right.
And that really started. Now, when stuff happens like that and it really life altering days, and then you see these inconsistencies, then you want to know the truth.
Right.
And it's just so crazy. It's just so crazy when you sit back and you look at how bullcrap a lot of these stories are, and you find out years later, a lot of times that there are false flags. There is documented false flags, such as the Gulf of Tonkin incident, that have got us into wars many times. And this goes back, there's even like a textbook on how to go in and start this stuff. And this is all declassified, you know, things that I'm talking about, that years later, the arrogance of the government, 40, 50 years later, they're just like, oh, hell, let them see it. You know, nobody's going to read. Right. Nobody's going to care.
Nobody's going to do anything.
And nobody's going to do anything. That's already happened. I dare say that there are great disasters in world history that 20, 30 years from now will maybe be common knowledge that there was a cover up. But when this stuff happens, no one wants to, you know, talk about it and, or, you know, and they want to steer clear of it, including me. But it doesn't mean that I do in the privacy of my own home. But it just really, this is one that there is a lot of information out there. There's a lot of people that have started wonderful careers that I respect and admire that have wrote books on the JFK conspiracy and the cover up. So I can only hope that there is something cool that comes out of this that lets us know a few more answers.
I'll be interested to see. It will be a while once those are all released. I'm sure it will be months before anybody really finds anything, if there is anything to find.
I will say when they do release things, people do generally find things.
They do. I mean, things of interest. There's people that just pour over that stuff for
because there's
days.
Some guy named Marty that's in charge of you know, covering stuff up. It's just like the NASA photos you hear about. It's so bewildering to me.
I'm surprised NASA doesn't release pictures with just big spots of white out on them.
I'm telling you, it makes me actually mad at the employees because doing the job I do.
You know, like, have some pride in your job.
Yeah.
Come on.
You know, it makes me a little bit upset at the employees sometimes. It's like, could you please do a better job of covering this up? Or, you know, I mean, come on, could you not, on the ISS, on the International Space Station, could you not go to a feed of a wall, please?
Could you just maybe move the camera or something, make it look real? Do
we not have a mount? You know, we'll be right back with some cute music. You know,
it's space. You think they'd have enough archived footage of empty space to just throw some empty space up in there? I mean, they have the technology to do that.
I mean, that just kills me. Why do they do it in the dumbest way possible? And I can only imagine Marty sitting in that room that's watching that, half asleep or stoned. He's probably stoned. He's monitoring the ISS feed, right?
Right.
So he's sitting there and he's half baked. He's like one of my guys, you know, working there with the radio antennas, and he's sitting there and he's just like, oh man, holy crap, it's another. Oh, it's a gray. Hold on a second. Let me show this wall. You know, I mean, why? And that's the only time you really notice, too. Like, so if you're sitting there recording it, I can totally go back through 24 hours of ISS feed and fast forward and wait until they show the wall or a toilet or so, you know,
or the feed cuts cut or something. Yeah. That's hilarious. All right. Well, let's move on. So this next story is about the politician in Florida, the congressional candidate in Florida, who actually says that she was abducted by aliens.
Right.
And she did an interview on it, I believe.
It is Florida, so was it illegal aliens or?
No. UFO aliens, like actual aliens.
They're still illegal.
She says she even went on a spaceship ride when she was a little girl. And this all happened when she was younger, but she talked about it in some kind of interview or something. And her name is Bettina Rodriguez Aguilera.
Right.
And she is running to replace a retiring Miami Republican representative.
Okay.
And she claims that she's
a
abducted.
Republican saying this?
Yeah, that she had been abducted and that she took a ride with aliens when she was a little girl, like when she was 7 years old. And this is from a television interview she did in 2009. That's what it says here. So, and that she remained in contact with 3 of the aliens, 1 male and 2 females.
That's awesome.
Now, I don't know that she's still in contact with them, but apparently she did stay in contact with them. And
she'd have my vote.
She actually said in the interview that she went into the spaceship and there were some round seats that were there and some quartz rocks that controlled the ship.
Oh.
Which makes total sense because quartz remembers all kinds of stuff. And, you know, she's not redacting that. She's not saying, oh, I lied or anything like that. She's just saying, you know, now that it's come out, she's like, yes, I did do that interview. That did happen. But I think let's just focus on these more important things now instead of this alien interview.
I don't know. I kind of think that's more important. I think you're underestimating the importance of this. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I mean, it's, you know, if I'm in the interview, I'm sorry. We're going to talk about this because, number one, that's really cool. And you're awesome. And
she did say the Miami Herald contacted her recently, and she did say that she has a strong belief in God and that she does believe that there is more life out there. Obviously, she was abducted by aliens.
But at least they were cool aliens that, you know.
Yeah, that kept in touch and didn't just abduct her and not call the next day. Because, you know, I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, it happens to a lot of us. I think that it's sad that that's going to be the defining moment, you know, for her. For her, it's sad. But there again, if you're in politics, maybe you shouldn't mention that part.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it was one she did years ago.
Yeah, but that's like I did porn years ago.
I'm sure one of her competitors probably dug that up and was trying to use it to make her look crazy or whatever.
You know what's going to happen is everybody's going to vote for her.
I hope so.
I'm telling you, man, this day and time. Would you rather have our current reality, or would you rather have the reality that you can go zip around the universe?
Well, that's true.
I mean,
maybe they'll vote for her, and then maybe that guy in Boston that's running for city council, the clown.
The clown?
Won't get in.
No, we don't need to vote for the clown. Aliens, greater than clowns. Sorry.
Okay. Well, how about a nice Bigfoot story?
How about a nice old Bigfoot story?
So this was on Fox News. Mm-hmm. So but supposedly there was a Bigfoot sighting in North Carolina. Northern California. There actually was one in North Carolina like a month and a half ago. I apologize. That's why I said that. This one was Northern California.
There's a lot there as well.
Yes. And this is a guy named Jeffrey Gonzalez.
A lot of fires there recently, too.
There have been. Yes,
I'd say the Bigfoot are hating it.
Well, this story was great. I loved this one because this local farmer, he claims that he saw Bigfoot and 5 other Bigfoots. Big feet.
Bigfoot. I think it's Bigfoot. I don't believe
it. Is it just Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Kind of like sheep.
Right.
Okay.
I think the plural of Bigfoot is Bigfoot.
Is Bigfoot. Okay. So he saw the creature and 5 other creatures running on his ranch, which is near Avocado Lake.
Yeah.
And I love his little tale because he said one of them, which was extremely tall, obviously because it was a Bigfoot. Right. He had a pig over his shoulder. Okay. I guess they were getting some dinner.
No, I'm getting the picture of this right now.
Yeah. And so whenever they found out that he had seen them, they started scattering and running away. And the one that was carrying the pig was running so fast that he didn't see this irrigation pipe and he tripped and the pig went flying away from him. He does not mention if the pig was hurt or injured or damaged or if they still took it. But I got a really nice picture of that. But he said it's not that uncommon to see the creatures on his farm.
Right.
So he has some pictures, and the pictures have gone viral. Not of the pig. There's no pictures of the pig. It's just
like
pictures
they're
of a
delinquent,
Bigfoot.
like they're delinquent kids. It's the Bigfoot that falls into the hole. That would be me, the Bigfoot. I love it. The other Bigfoot are. I mean, obviously he's already their bitch boy,
right?
Because they've got him carrying the pig,
right? And now they're mad at him because he lost the pig.
Yeah,
because he's clumsy.
It's like, no, Harpo, you have to carry it this time because I carried it last time.
Well, supposedly he told the paper about 2 other stories that were very recent from people that live right in his area of sightings that they have had that were similar to his sighting. I don't think there were pigs involved, but he thought it was weird that 3 different families in this same area had these same stories that kind of matched up.
Yeah,
so
it's very interesting.
It is. And the article mentions that the images were a little reminiscent of the Patterson Gimlin footage.
Right.
They weren't that clear. I looked at them. They weren't that good.
They weren't Patterson good.
No. But I will point out that it's like the 50th anniversary
of
that Patterson Gimlin footage this month, like the 20th.
Yeah.
So coming up.
It's crazy.
50 years, and they still not proved that it's not real.
One of the things that got me so into everything.
Yeah.
In Search of, baby. Watching that footage. Terrified me.
Well, on the same kind of line of Sasquatch, there is this website. It's this travel company. Yeah. They're offering this getaway, and they call it the Sasquatch Challenge. So they're saying that for a couple of days in October, there's this getaway that you can pay for. It's very expensive. It's a glamping adventure. Do you know what glamping is?
Can only guess. It has something to do with Sasquatch.
I didn't know until I read this. Supposedly glamping is when you go camping, but with really luxurious accommodations.
Right.
Yeah, so it's glamping. So supposedly this company will take you in a helicopter out into the middle of these certain locations. They will drop you off with everything you need. It's a glamping kind of thing, tents, equipment, great food, whatever. And you spend 24 hours there by yourself. Like you can't, they leave you there. They'll give you a phone or radio in case you chicken out, but you're supposed to stay and hopefully have an encounter with Bigfoot.
Wow.
It costs about $6,000.
That's a racket.
Yeah.
That's an absolute racket.
Now, this is up in Canada.
Of course.
So there actually is a very good possibility that you will either see Sasquatch or be killed by some wild animal.
Absolutely.
While you're glamping.
Not as good of a possibility as it would if it were in Australia. But still, yeah,
Oh, this is supposed to be like their Halloween experience this year. And they're only doing it like a couple of times, like 2 or 3 dates, I think.
Let me just say, I got to go back. You ran by that story on the Bigfoot.
Okay.
The big feet, the Sasquatches.
Right.
You ran by that story awful quick.
I'm sorry.
So that is a severely specific Bigfoot encounter.
It really is.
As far as the Bigfoot encounters go, I was really, I really liked the one that I had, that I found when I was watching on where to go and find Bigfoot in the greater area that we're in. And the one where the Bigfoot acted like a tree.
Right.
And just kind of stared at the guy. And then there was another one where the Bigfoot, looked at him for a second, then went prone.
Right.
Thinking that he couldn't be seen. But this one is more specific than those.
This one is very specific. And you don't often hear about sightings where there are a bunch of them, like a Bigfoot gang.
So I am trained, as we have documented on the show, in the arts of deception, or detecting deception, I should say.
Right.
It's a fine line there, kids. But it's when I hear a story from someone, the more specifics they give me, the more validity there is to that story.
Right.
So if they're able to tell me, like a lot of times people, when they have stolen and I'm interviewing them and they say, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, maybe 2 weeks ago or some. Normally, there's a lot of guilt there because they're not giving me a specific. They're not honing in, and it's things that we know. When you hear something that specific, either we're talking a new level of guano crazy, Okay.
Right.
Either we're talking a new level of guano crazy or we're talking a real sighting.
And you mentioned the thing about the wildfires.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be a situation where the Bigfoot have been flushed out of where they normally hide.
It's been so terrible. You know, I hope that any of our listeners up there, that your homes are okay and you know, nobody you know has been hurt. It's been such a bad year. Horrible. If anybody's been keeping up with it, some of the footage from that's been terrifying. Still yet not as terrifying as a normal day in Australia.
Very true.
We have a lot of listeners in Australia, and I have to poke a little bit of fun because when we look at the map of where we have listeners at, Australia is actually right up at the top. And I love each and every one of you. So good day. I want to come and have a Vegemite sandwich. And we still laugh about that. If you don't know, you have to go back and listen to, I don't know what episode that is. Maybe we can look that up. And
yeah, I'll put it on the website
where I explain what a Vegemite sandwich wasn't and what I thought it was.
Right.
Growing up. So, just a shout out to the Aussies out there. So,
all right. Well, interesting Bigfoot sighting. I definitely go look at the story. You'll see the pictures and you can, decide for yourself if you think that it's real. So let's continue. And this story is about something that I haven't really seen reported a lot, but I kind of passed the story and I thought I'd mention it. It's about the out of control space laboratory that's falling towards the Earth.
Nothing to see here.
The Chinese space station.
Move along.
That they have lost control of. And experts are now saying that it's actually going to hit the Earth. It's going to fall back to the Earth, and probably late this year or early next year.
Damn it, China.
So it was actually, this station was launched in 2011. China's really had these big ambitions for space. We've actually talked about that. There's been articles about everything they're doing, science wise.
Back years ago when I sold electronics, you wanted to stay away from the ones that were made in China. And it was like, I mean, this is like the job I had when I was right out of high school. But I got to know way too much about like VCRs and stuff.
Right.
Way too much. More than you would ever want to know. And it's information that really obviously means nothing now. But I remember it was so funny. If I had ones made in Japan, they were amazing, right? If you had ones made in different places, they were amazing. But the Chinese ones, the made in China, you kind of wanted to avoid them. So when you first told me this story the other day, the only thing I was cracking up about was that, and and the story just came out actually from Japan, oddly enough, that one of the big people that produce metals for everything from rockets to nuclear plants has been lying about the quality of their metals.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And there's very high possibility of defects, and some of these were used in the bullet train, everything.
I saw that story, and I was watching this video on it, and it was like they glossed over all the really terrible things. They were like, this metal could have been used in this thing, but then they were like nuclear reactors and bullet train. Like they kind of really quickly said nuclear reactors. And,
I believe it's Kobe. I believe it's Kobe. I might be wrong with the name.
Something like that.
But in Japan, but
that's scary.
I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, and now everybody has to test all their stuff.
To
make sure it's not parts aren't going to fail.
Right. The CEO of the company said, it was us. We lied about how good it was. And so, but I was thinking about the made in China sticker on the side of this
side of the space station.
The side of the space station.
Well, supposedly, this has been up there. They've actually done missions with it. They referred to it as a heavenly palace, and they even had astronauts on it. But last year, they had lost control of it, and they said that now it's going to be heading towards Earth. And so obviously they can't do anything with it.
Shoot it down with a rocket.
Well, they said that it also sparked concerns that people on the ground could be hit with the falling debris.
Yeah.
So they can't predict where this thing's going to come down at. because they're saying that as it comes down, the wind can push it, weather can push it, anything can make it go anywhere. And
They have that son of a bitch set to go off in the U.S.
at first, they're saying that
they'll never suspect it.
this article actually says that it's unlikely that anyone will be harmed because they figured it would land in the sea, but then they go right on to say that it's really hard to predict where it's going to land because it could get pushed around by the weather or the wind.
We're mostly ocean. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good thing to say. I mean, obviously, the chance of hitting water is much greater than hitting land.
Well, now the whole thing's not going to come down in one piece, obviously. It's
Right.
going to break up and it's going to burn up some
How
of the atmosphere.
big are we talking?
I mean, it's a whole station. Astronauts worked on
they
it.
put together piece by piece, probably in different
Right.
rockets and stuff.
They're claiming that most of it's going to burn up, but chunks as big as 100 kilograms could make their way through.
Nice.
Which, if you're coming from space, it's gonna cause problems. It's gonna, it could hurt things if
Yeah.
it landed, and where there's a lot of people. So something to
Hopefully-
definitely watch.
Hopefully, the gang of Sasquatch are looking out for it. No, I mean that's crazy.
It is crazy. So I'll keep up with that one and see. The end of this year, next year, things are going to be falling to the ground. People are going to be like, "What's this?"
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to this next story, and this is about a village.
Ah, yes.
It's a village story. It seems like I've had a village story almost every week.
Since we began.
Yes. So this is a village,
The village
in
story.
India, and
Oh, I love India.
apparently the men have fled this village. It's just a tiny village. It's about 60 people or so, very tiny. But supposedly the men have fled because they're
Somebody asked to do laundry or
no, the word spread that there's a female ghost that's killing men.
oh,
So all the men have just fled the town and
Right.
left their wives and children behind because they're not in any danger.
wow.
So yeah, and
That's some really honorable men. Are you kidding me?
well. Supposedly, 3 men.
I would never do that.
No, 3 men in the village, including 2 brothers, have been killed within 3 months. Now, when you only have 60 people in your town and 3 people die in 3 months, I mean that's a pretty good chunk of your population.
The thing I love about villages is I hate to be Captain Obvious here, but there is some chick in that house that totally took out some guys and then told everybody there's a female ghost.
Well, I think now that is funny. I think now everybody actually has left, and it's all been kind of like a ghost town. Now it's kind of been shuttered up, and nobody's there. A few people remain, but they don't go out at night. They go to bed before the sun sets. They don't come out till after sunrise, and they're waiting to go back until someone comes and unpossesses the town.
That's us.
Do you think we need to get Indian unpossess the
Listen,
town?
if anybody's listening, I've always wanted to travel to India. I love your culture. I love your history. I love your incense. I love everything. Bring me, and I will stay in that town outside overnight and get rid of your ghost. I don't know. It's that's crazy that. Again, that everybody at least heeds the warning and gets out.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Supposedly, the 3 men that died, they're saying that the ghost strangled them.
really,
So, yeah,
huh?
interesting, huh?
It is interesting. Oh, maybe I just need to be a police officer.
Maybe.
That shouldn't be very hard to figure out.
I'm telling you, villages are dangerous nowadays.
Villages-
You can't just be in a village anymore, can you?
Bro, villages have been dangerous since the beginning of time. When we see the word village and we're traveling, we just keep going.
Yeah, we're not stopping in this village.
Not stopping in the
No.
village.
All right. Well, this next story is about the kicker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay.
Now, the Tampa Bay Bucks, they have a curse. A kicker curse.
Well, they have more curses than that, but yes.
Well, supposedly people say that they have a kicker curse because they have been through 8 kickers since 2012.
Wow.
That's a lot of kickers.
That is a lot of kickers.
Yes.
It's like the Browns quarterbacks.
So recently, they've actually rehired Patrick Murray. He actually was the kicker and then he left and now he's back. And supposedly he's saying now that he is much better, that he doesn't believe that there's a curse. And one of the reasons that he is doing better is that he has been talking to a psychic.
Oh.
and she's been helping him. So apparently this woman's very Irish Catholic, very deeply into her faith, but she is a medium.
Right.
And so
Can't help that.
he speaks with her and he uses her to help him with his game. And it was funny because they did this big long article on Patrick Murray and on the kicking and all that stuff. And he just mentioned this one thing sort of at the end of the interview, but this is the one thing that everybody kind of picked up on was that he's talking to this medium now. And he said that he didn't, that he feels like she's helping him, that she tells him things that there's no way she could know, but that he feels like just the fact that he's talking to her about these personal things is what's helping him.
Right.
Which I totally understand.
And people can be the most staunch critic, or they can absolutely be a non-believer. But I've seen these non-believers before when the medium tells them specific information that they would have no idea about otherwise, and they become a believer real quick. I have this belief inside of me that most people want to believe. Okay, and the beautiful comfort that comes from a true psychic medium is you feel like, for the first time, this person really gets me. And, even in a marriage, as close and intimate as a marriage is, people have secrets. People have thoughts that they don't share. They don't.
Right.
And even the most shareable people there are, you still have those inner thoughts, those doubts, not about your marriage, maybe just about anything, but when you feel like somebody can read you, it's such a comforting feeling,
right? That
you feel like the floodgates come open. You're able to tell them everything. Hey, they already know your dark stuff, right?
Right.
So you can give them all this information, and it feels so good to get it off your chest.
Well, isn't there some kind of saying about telling things to a stranger?
Yeah.
It's just easier because, you don't know them. They don't know you. You can just tell them all your stuff and never see them again.
But, anybody struggling with any kind of, problems, talking to someone, a lot of times if you call a suicide prevention, it's just so you can talk. And I agree with that. It's absolutely. But the psychic medium thing, maybe it's because she's a kick-ass psychic medium.
It could be.
Or maybe, like he says, he's able to talk to her,
Yeah, well, this whole kicker thing with the Bucks, I think it's funny because back in 2012, their kicker was Connor Barth, and he actually was pretty good. And that was sort of when the curse started. He got hurt, and they brought someone in to replace him. And then when he was better and he came back, instead of giving him his job back, I think they just kept with this other person. They made him fight for it, and they went with somebody else, and they went with somebody else and went with somebody else. So, if you're looking for who put a curse on that position,
it's a karma curse. I think sometimes that it's not as much that someone puts a curse as it's just a karma curse. You got the curse of the Bambino. There's so many curses throughout time. The Spinal Tap movie, if you've never seen it, it's hilarious. Where they can't keep a drummer, the drummer explodes or something crazy. We always joked about it in my band Dead Level because we couldn't keep a bass player.
No, that's true.
And we would have
quite a few.
I remember, this is so funny. I remember our first bass player.
Right.
So we had this bass player come in, and he was fantastic, just amazing. This was in our earliest days of practicing, and we were practicing back then in our drummer's house, and we had this wonder kid drummer. So here we all were out of high school, but he was still in high school, and so we had to practice in his house with his parents coming up. It was so funny, but I remember this drummer. He was amazing. This bass player, he was amazing. And we were sitting there and we're like, we've got the best band. Our guitarist was blazing. He was amazing. The drummer was just unbelievable. Still yet, I don't hear drummers as good as him.
Right.
And we had a great songwriter in the band who was not that great of a musician, but he had a lot of heart. And we had me on vocals, which is just like having Phil Anselmo have a baby with Marilyn Manson, and Eddie Vedder got involved in it somehow.
Right.
So it was all good. This is just funny. I remember, because this was in my very experimental days with certain medicinal remedies.
Right.
And I remember we were sitting in the practice room, and I was like, so what do you do, man? Like, what do you do for a living? We had like 6 practices, and this guy was just amazing. He's like, I'm a cop.
Oh, Jesus.
And I remember that look that we all gave each other, and they knew what I was getting ready to say. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, man. That's really interesting. And so we didn't have him back again. And they were like, but you interview people and you know all this stuff. And it was actually before that, but I was still like, I hated thieves and all this stuff. It was just so funny, the I'm a cop thing. I'll never forget that because the look that we all gave each other.
Well, you would have been, if any of the other bands at the time had found out that you had a cop in your band.
Oh, yeah.
And you were bringing him to the practice rooms and the shows. Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You would have been kicked out.
I just think about this guy sometimes, and I don't even remember his name. And it's kind of funny, man. It's not getting into story time, but we had another time when we were auditioning drummers before we got that great drummer. And we had this drummer, and we had went through so many people, and we had this drummer that was just amazing. And he played every song we played, man, because we had, we had some pretty fast songs, and he kept up with them, and our melodic songs he kept up with. He did wonderful. And we got done, and Aaron, my guitarist, was like, dude, that stuff was awesome. That was great. And he goes, what? Oh, dude, I'm just playing Nirvana.
Oh, Jesus.
All he knew was Nirvana. He knew Nirvana songs, Dave Grohl, piece by piece.
Right.
And he would just play Nirvana songs behind our music.
And they fit?
Yeah, he would play the drums. I mean, Dave Grohl's all over the place anyway.
Right.
But he would use little bits.
That's hilarious.
Honestly, going back, I would kind of like to have just done a song with him where he did like Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Somebody would have picked it out, though.
Oh,
somebody would have picked it out.
Absolutely.
Well, it was funny because the drummer you did end up with, you actually had to slow him down most of the time.
Yeah.
Like he would rush through everything.
We ended up with a drummer that was like Animal from the Muppets, and it was just amazing. And I guess our longest term bass player, his name was actually Dick Tester.
His name was Richard.
Yes, but
Tester, but he liked to be called.
He wanted to be called Dick Tester
because that's just a terrible name.
It was amazing.
He actually lasted a while. He's the one that recorded with you and everything.
He recorded with us, and he recorded the full length album that went off into somebody's house
somewhere
that we don't have. That was amazing. The studio recorded album that was just. I mean, it was fantastic. We heard sample tracks from it and stuff, but the guy that was recording the album didn't like the fact that the bass player was he would, do runs on the bass, and he was really funky, like Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right.
So I encouraged that and wanted him to play, just have at it. I encouraged all of them to be their musical best.
Right.
The tightness wasn't important to me as much as the expression.
Right. The artistic
to me, that was music. But anyway, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother book.
Well, anyway, let's move on. Well, speaking of musicians, let's just do this really quick story about Billy Corgan.
Oh, God.
Because I know he's your favorite person in the whole world.
Billy Corgan, I cannot escape from. Okay. I know this is a paranormal story.
Right.
Let me explain this. So when I was a pro wrestler, I ended my career wrestling for an affiliate of the National Wrestling Alliance.
Right.
Billy Corgan has purchased the National Wrestling Alliance now. Before that, he was with Impact Wrestling because he's obviously a wrestling fan.
Right.
When I was in music, or a music lover, as I still am,
right.
I'm not a big fan of the Smashing Pumpkins, even though I love that genre. Something about his voice makes me want to go kill cats.
You never did listen to any of that stuff.
No, I hated Smashing Pumpkins. I mean, and what's funny is I like everything else in that genre, really.
I think maybe it was just his voice. Some people just, they just rub you the wrong way.
Every time I hear that today is, it just, for some reason, and there's a lot of fans of, and like I said, everything else in that genre I dig, but I just never got into the whole bullet with butterfly wing stuff.
Right. Well, you'll be happy to know that Billy Corgan is not getting into the paranormal.
Oh, okay.
But he did do an interview on the Howard Stern show where he talked about some paranormal experiences he had. And I always like to pick these out when people, famous people admit that they've had the paranormal experiences. So his were actually kind of cool. He said that one time he saw somebody do a transformation that he can't explain. And he didn't actually even go into it. He didn't want to talk about it. But he said he saw someone that actually had some kind of transformation, and he had no explanation for it. So I'm thinking, somebody that maybe was possessed, or
they had a lot of heroin problems in that band.
I mean,
Just
I don't know. But he had this other one that I thought was kind of crazy, where him and his girlfriend both had this unusual phenomenon happen at the same time, and it felt like a time ripple thing for them.
Wow.
They both had something happen at the exact same time, where he was working on his computer and all of a sudden he lost a bunch of stuff, like 8 days worth of work. He's working on a book or something. And at the exact same time, she had a vision of a young woman that looked like his mother when she was younger.
Oh, crap.
Which I thought was interesting. And it all happened like instantly at the same time. And then,
that's
they talked about it.
crazy how similar that is to my experience.
Right. Well, that's why I thought you would think this was interesting. And so those are his paranormal experiences. And, he still can't explain that to this day.
Yeah.
So, pretty interesting that he talked about it all. I'll put a link up because I think there's a link for that actual interview for the Howard Stern show.
No, that's crazy.
Where you can, listen to it. So.
No, I'm glad you did bring that up. I mean, I've never heard anybody else really have that same experience.
Right. Yeah. No, me neither. So last few stories here,
Yeah.
These are going to be real winners.
Your quick shots.
So the first one is about a man who vandalized a home in Sheboygan. Sheboygan. He's 31 years old, and he claimed that after he was arrested, he claimed that the aliens made him do it.
Oh, not the demons, not the devil.
Not the demons. Supposedly, he's been doing this for a few weeks. The first graffiti was reported on September 11th. These people had just bought this property. They're the new owners, and the letters DNA were spray painted on the home in black. So then over the next several weeks, one of the windows was broken. Their van was kicked on. There was a dent in their van. Someone kicked it. Someone tried to set fire to the house twice, and it was all this one guy. And so an officer that was on patrol, I guess they were kind of watching the house. The people had complained, and they noticed a suspicious man sitting in a van near the location. And it was this guy, this 31-year-old man, and he actually admitted to all of these things, that he did all of these things. And he claimed that he did it because he has an alien virus from outer space, and it was making him upset. It was changing his DNA. That's why he spray painted DNA, and it was making him vandalize the home.
That's
It's interesting.
That is very interesting. I mean, okay, let me ask you this. I don't know if the story goes into this or not. Did he know these people?
No, but supposedly he did know the previous owners. And so they're thinking that because he has been diagnosed as schizophrenic.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
catch-all.
So they're thinking that maybe he's trying to target the previous owners, that he had something with them, and he didn't realize that the house had been purchased by somebody new. But again, he did say it was the alien virus.
It's, again, a couple episodes ago I said that there's prisons full of people that say the devil made me do it that probably,
Probably did.
Probably did. There's some that don't. There's some that are just sick people.
Right.
So who are we to say whether or not this guy has a...
Well, if you think about it, the whole nature of like demon possession, they go after people that have weaknesses. So if you have a person that's already mentally
They go for
sick,
the weakest person in the house.
Yeah, they could very possibly be possessed because they would already have that weakness. So then when they say, demons made me do it, obviously they already know that they have these mental problems, but that doesn't mean that a demon didn't actually make them do it.
Right.
Because they would be very susceptible to that.
Absolutely.
So it's like you said, it's like a, catch-22.
And we, it's funny, it's stories that we laugh at, and we do. But at the same time, we know all too well that, as many of our listeners do, that the paranormal is all too real. And, it makes me want to say something right now. So I love sweep technology, and I just adore it. Since the very first time that I played with a Frank's box and a Shack Hack,
Yes.
I was able to get amazing evidence. I was able to have conversations with the other side and have direct answers to direct questions. I remember sitting in a room full of skeptics in around 2008, and very, very skeptical people that were also friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And they wanted me to ask questions that were very specific. Mm-hmm. And so I asked, can you tell me when, let's just say his name's Jim, because it's not Jim. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me when Jim's birthday is? And it said his birthday. It said the month and the day. And Jim was then still trying to figure out
how you managed to get it to do that.
Right. If that could have been a random AM station saying that. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. It could have been.
Right.
Most likely wasn't, but it was question after question. And so I got more and more into it. Mm-hmm. And I did it when I was by myself. And I would get this, and the research for it, I would always find more after I would do it. Even if I did it live and I was listening very intently, when I went back and did the research, I would find even more. And I found a lot of FUs and, you're going to die and all this stuff. But I found a lot of very useful information. And, the deeper I got into it, the more dangerous I found out that it was. Mm-hmm. Very dangerous. And we've said many times that a lot of times doing this stuff is just like playing with a Ouija board. You're very opened up to it. Mm-hmm. And, we had the story earlier this year about Steve Huff.
Right.
And how he stepped away for a bit because he was, so big into that. And now we have, the amplifier hacks and stuff where you can go back through and make your own devices. And some of the coolest equipment I've ever seen is out now, where you can actually hear full on conversations in their actual voice. And, there's videos. I watched a local guy to where we live. I watched some of his videos. The stuff he was getting was just insane.
Oh, how crazy.
And they were talking to him, and his name was also John. So they were telling him things, that just insanity. But what got me really on that was it was a lot of the same things I've heard. And, I've been so careful with that. I don't do any of it in the house.
Right.
Because of how real it is. And, that's the whole gravity of this that I'm talking about. The paranormal, whatever the paranormal is absolutely real. No ifs, ands, or buts. People, I see these contests where you prove that paranormal is real under scientific conditions. We'll pay you $1 million. Well, if you're listening, I accept your challenge. And can absolutely prove beyond a shadow of a doubt under the strictest of conditions that the paranormal is real and get relative information, relative answers. That's why I don't really understand those when I see those, why someone hasn't stepped up, and because it happens every time I want it to happen, and every time a lot of these guys want it to happen. And what's scaring me a little bit is how the sweep technology is really taken off, right? Like everybody's doing it. And there's people that are very addicted because it's a very addicting thing.
It is.
And that's scaring me because I know when I was around when the paranormal boom started and people started going into the Waverly Hills every night. And that's where I started with the pay-per-view thing. And on this show, or on another show that we did, I warned people. I was like, we don't know what this is going to look like in 10 years.
Right.
That's what I'm worried about with the sweep technology at this point.
Right.
And, the fact that we don't know where this is going to lead with the addiction, but this stuff is real. So when you hear these stories, about, so-and-so made me do it or whatever, I just always think back to, I wonder if people still go into this, not thinking that they see it on TV or whatever.
Right.
And they think, oh, this is cool. Let's get this.
Well, it's like you're talking about with the sweep technology. There are people that will use spirit boxes and sweep technology that swear they would never touch a Ouija board. But it's the same thing. And I don't think that's what they understand. I think, you made this analogy one time about One of the reasons we don't do it in the house is because it opens a door.
Right.
Just like if you were using a Ouija board or whatever, any kind of that spirit communication opens a door. And even if you close the session and you close that door, there's still a door.
Right.
And, just because you close it, it doesn't go away.
Right.
And the more you open it, the easier it is to open.
They'll find a way back in.
But, the easier it is to open from either side.
Right.
So even if you're not opening it, if it's there and it's been used a lot, they can do it.
Absolutely.
So, it's a dangerous thing.
I think that we need to have another show about just the dangers of paranormal and have some people come on that, have had some experiences that are not so great. The reason Stacy and I take it the way we do, we don't have a traditional team, and we haven't for years, just because we absolutely have faith and trust in one another. The following exercise works with us. We have so much faith in each other, and we know each other so well. There are people we will investigate with, but it's people that we absolutely know and trust and everything, because the dangers are so real.
Right.
And, I can't state that enough. As much as the oversaturation of the market has occurred with television shows and with books and, TV and what have you.
Right.
Is it ever going to be as heavy as a Hollywood TV show? Very rarely. Are you going to see the chair flying through the room? Or it's very rare.
Yeah.
But what it can do to you emotionally and, emotionally, I'll just leave it at that. What it can do to you emotionally, what it can do to your psyche, what it can do to your relationships, and you don't know till after it's all over. Because you're letting something in that we don't completely understand. I don't know if it's demons. I don't know if it's pure evil. I don't know if it's aliens. I don't know if it's, a freaking ancient, legendary.
Right. But that's exactly the point. You don't really know.
Yes.
And just because something's telling you that it's so-and-so that you're talking to, you really don't know if that's who that is. And you don't know what you're talking to.
And I will continue my research till the day I die. But the one thing that I've learned over the years, somebody asked me once, at the time, because I've been investigating with using a recorder or whatever for 20 years, and a full gambit of every kind of device you can imagine. We've played with, they're coming out so fast now that I've got
hardly keep up.
I've got my old man fist in the air, shaking it, going, I'm happy with my recorder,
right.
And my little box. I get just what I need. But I tell you, man, you just got to be really safe, really careful. Open sessions, closed sessions, use protection. It's fun to have it, but as long as you're safe with it, it's just like anything.
Just like it, yeah, that's true.
You can have as many partners as you want on the paranormal, but just make sure that you're safe.
Make sure it's safe.
Yeah.
Well, this next story is a story that I saw going around about a woman who had emergency responders called on her because she had collapsed on the porch. And when the EMTs got there, she actually refused medical treatment, claiming that her condition was spiritual and not medical, that she had just been possessed by the ghost who lives in her attic, and she came outside and that she would be fine and that she didn't need them. What she needed was a priest.
Wow.
Yeah. So this story actually, I think it actually hit mainstream. I think it got picked up. But there was a mother and daughter, and they told the police that there was a ghost named Angelica who lives in their attic, and she had taken over their mother's body. And that's why she had passed out on the porch. And the daughter also said that there was a ghost named George who lives in their basement. So they have a ghost in the attic and a ghost in the basement.
I had a ghost named George when I was a kid.
And that they blocked both of the doors, the door to the attic and the door to the basement, to keep the spirits contained. And it didn't say how they blocked it. Like if they just pushed something in front of the door, that's not really going to work.
Maybe salt.
But at some point, the spirit from the attic had escaped and possessed the mother's body. And so they refused medical treatment. She didn't want to go to the hospital. She said she was fine. But the daughter asked the police if they could help her contact a priest because she didn't know any in the area. Now, this is from Ohio, in Cambridge. So I don't know what happened after that. The emergency responders, she didn't refuse medical treatment. There wasn't anything else they could do. They just left. She wasn't in any kind of, danger, and
Well,
she didn't cause any
for the rest of the
crimes.
week, didn't they?
Yeah. So, interesting story.
Again, it's another one. It's another one that you could laugh off, or you can go, well,
Right.
maybe
Well,
somebody should look into that.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of the news outlets were kind of laughing at it.
Yeah.
Because, possessed or whatever. But I mean, obviously they believe they have these ghosts. They probably do.
Yeah.
They would know. All right, so this is the last story, and this one I thought was kind of interesting, and this is from China, and the residents of a Chinese village,
The
and
village.
supposedly found this bizarre skeleton in a field that they're calling a dead dragon.
Oh, wow.
So there's this video of this skeleton laying in a field, and there's all these people standing around, and they're taking pictures and they're talking about it. Now, obviously, this seems like a hoax.
Absolutely.
It's huge. It's like 60 feet long, but they
That's a
feel
big
like
hoax.
they feel like maybe it's some kind of movie prop or made out of like animal bones.
Right.
It does look like a dragon skeleton, like the way it's laid out. It's got a head. It's really long. It's got the little feet. But it wasn't buried or anything. It was just laying in the field.
So are we sure this isn't a dinosaur?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I saw the pictures, but nobody's actually come out officially said that it's not a real thing, but they do appear to have been placed there intentionally, as a
Right.
prank or for a movie or something like that. And people were all standing around. They were taking pictures with it. Some people pointed out that they would probably be more respectful if they thought that it was real.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But it's really interesting. Nobody's come forward to claim that they've done it. Nobody's actually said what it is or why it's there. It was just found in this field. And, of course, the whole village came out to see because you would.
Yeah. I mean, it's the village.
Right.
It's what you do.
So it's crazy. It measures 60 feet.
That's insane.
Yeah. And there's a video you can look. I'll link to it so you can look at it. But it's crazy.
I definitely want to know if this is what comes of this,
Right,
if they say anything, or if there's some guy named Iraq that's trying to raise them, or whatever. So a little Skyrim insight.
There you go. Well, last little thing I'll mention. I forgot about this. It's a clown related thing.
Oh.
We've had all the stories recently of all
Stacey.
the clown sightings and the clown problems.
Yes.
And this one's from Israel.
Oh,
And so supposedly the Israel police have arrested about 12 young adults recently over the past few days because they've been walking around wearing clown masks. And of course, the whole thing goes back to blaming the release of the movie, It.
so they released it in Israel.
Yes. And so the police are actually, nobody's been hurt. They're not causing any trouble, but they're still picking these kids up because they're afraid that it's going to cause violent outbreaks. People there, they own guns and, they're afraid that somebody's really going to get hurt.
Damn clowns.
So
That movie.
the clown thing is not just an American phenomenon. Apparently a lot of people do that.
I don't understand it. Like,
I don't either. Like, I don't see how
this
that
has been
movie
going on for
inspires
years
you.
now. Well, it was already happening, but the movie has obviously raised that flag again.
Right.
I don't understand it. I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get the clown thing. Let me tell you once again, once again, I'm a big old dude.
You are.
You come walking up to me with a freaking pocket knife, and you're gonna be
clown mask.
You're gonna be ceased to be an ex-clown, gone to sing the choir eternal. It's not gonna happen, man. It's I mean, if I see somebody walking in a clown mask down, it's not gonna be pretty.
No, I know.
And except for Halloween, and then it's still gonna be kind of sketchy.
It's going to be iffy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't think clowns are interesting or funny or at all.
No, I think they're terrible.
They're horrible.
And if I have any clowns listening to the show, I do apologize if you take this, because it's a very serious profession for real clowns.
It is.
And they take it. They take. I told this story on another show. I met this guy, and he was a Shriner or whatever, and he was a clown. And it was everything to him. It was his whole entire existence was
Right.
making children happy.
Well, there's a difference between being a clown and being a scary clown.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just don't I hate the fact that it's went to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, I'm just glad that like when Scream came out, everybody wasn't wearing those damn masks going down the road. It's people are insane, man.
They really are.
I love it at the same time, you know, but it's it seems like that's going worldwide.
Yes.
And just like that movie, that movie really, I think, surprised people. And hey, just a little side note here. Stranger Things, the second season of Stranger Things will be out in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, I can't wait.
So
it's actually a really good show. If you haven't watched the first season, definitely catch up.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good.
And, you know, on the whole TV thing, I will say, once again, I mentioned this on the last show, The Hunt for Extraterrestrials, Josh Gates. If you haven't seen it, catch up now. Check that. You'll be seeing the last episode, I think, coming up, episode 4. Will be coming up next week, and that'll be the next one you could see. Go out of your way to watch as many Hammer horror movies as you can during Halloween.
Yes.
And you know, Turner Classic Movies, I've noticed that there's a few coming up, including Plague of the Zombies. You need to do you a favor and watch Plague of the Zombies if you haven't seen it. But thank you for the news. That was fantastic.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, here we are again. I tell you, I am very excited about the next few days. So the next time you guys talk to us, you're going to be hearing all about some adventures that we've done, and you'll be seeing them on the vlog, vlog that you can find at youtube.com/paranormal sideshow.
Yes. Please subscribe and like, and that helps us out.
Absolutely. Everything. If you just want to go to paranormalsideshow.com, that's the address. That's where
Links
you go.
for everything.
You can find all the links for everything. I won't even scream it this time. Facebook.com/paranormal sideshow. On the Twitter, it's at sideshow97. On Instagram, it's John and Stacey Edwards. And, you know, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, however you listen, that's where we're at. I will keep that there because that's just how it is. We do live there. But especially, you know, go check out the vlog if you haven't checked it out. We put a lot of time into it, and it's just a lot of fun for us. And hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as we enjoy making it. YouTube.com/paranormal sideshow. But for my lovely October baby Stacey, I am John Edwards. So long from the sideshow.
Good night.